Okay, that's enough. What's happening, Robot Wars and BattleBots fans and Bugglebots fans alike? Hardcore Kid here with the very first episode of the Hardcore Podcast of 2019. Woo! We made it!
Woo!
Yay! Joining us for this brand spanking new year, I have, as always, Otaku Nate.
Brandon, I've got a question.
Yes?
What do beetles and onions have in common?
What do they have in common?
Layers, Brandon! Beetles have layers!
Like what kind of layers? Like UHMW layers or layers of steel? Layers of litho? Also joining us, we have our dynamic duo consisting of Ian Miller, a.k.a. ResettisReplicas.
Hey, who's the other half?
Well, the guy who, at long last, has started building his robot for the Norwalk event next weekend. It is Ryan Beaver.
Wait, Ryan Beaver's actually building something?
Yep, believe it or not.
Yeah, you're one to talk, Nate.
It's a saw robot.
Yes, and I look forward to seeing it complete. And
yes, I can't look forward to seeing it get destroyed.
But it's not just these guys. We've got two more guests with us, making his return from the catastrophe delight that was episode 1. We have Chris Rose himself of Bugglebots, Alasdair Sutherland.
Good afternoon, Internet.
Hey, what's happening out there in the land of Eric?
Oh, dying much at the moment. I'm just battering a 3D printer into submission.
Nice. And last but not least, we have one of our competing teams that competed tonight. He made it to the heat final with his big overhead sawbot. And his name is Sam Price.
Hello, I am that guy you just said the name of.
So yeah, episode 3 of Bugglebots. We've reached the midway point, I'd say, of this little series we got going on the internet. And I'm going to say it right now. It's the best episode so far.
It's my favorite episode.
Oh, yeah.
I like episode 2 a little more, but episode 3 was definitely fun.
Yeah.
I think, for me, episode 3 had a really good story to it, because you started off with Rev getting the crap kicked out of it, and then it just goes through, and you watch him suddenly bring this thing back to being an absolute monster. And Rev is a monster. But it just needed a bit of a kick in the pants. Ogredrive a beast. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube video of him testing it. It goes through anything like butter. It's glorious. It does even cooler stuff later on in the series, but you'll have to wait and see what that is.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah. So usually, like we do with all the other reviews, we talk about each robot, what we liked, loved, hated, despised, and then we talk about the matches and go through from there. And so we'll start off with the winner of this heat, and it was, of course, the aforementioned Rev 2.
Rev 2 Spinner.
Took a little bit of a while to get started, but once they finally got it working, this thing really was a beast.
Yeah.
I think the problem that a lot of people have in the UK is we don't have as many events to do testing. And things like Rev 2, you can't just spin up in your kitchen. So the belt issue that he had in the first fight, which Sam will have more information on than I will, you couldn't have known about that until you stick it in. It's just one of these things.
Yeah, he was. I can't remember if the belt was too loose or too tight. Either way, it wasn't spinning up how he wanted, and also he was having some drive issues. But yeah, when it was working, it was pretty nasty, wasn't it?
Very strange looking blade. It looks like it's shaped like the letter D, or it's like sort of like a single tooth disc kind of thing there.
Looks kind of like Valkyrie.
Yeah, and also looking from the photo icon right now, it looks like a giant mouth that's grabbing onto the front of it with a little eye. It's awesome. But yeah, once they put the bar spinner on there, then it just became a real monster.
Yeah.
Just tearing stuff up. And, yeah,
it got one hell of a good hit.
More than just one good hit. Lots. It's really hard to pick a pick for the John Reed Good Hit of the Night award for me, since Rev 2 gave us a lot of good ones, but
Well, one in particular.
I think there was one in particular. I think we'll definitely get the award, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, Rev 2, at long last, a spinner has made it to the grand final after 2 wedges have won.
Yeah. My only real gripe with Rev 2 is the fact that it's not invertible, but so far we haven't really seen anything that's been able to flip it over. Plus, considering what I've built in the past, I have no say in that.
Well, you could get some pointers. I understand, Ryan, that you're working on a overhead sawbot. Is that what your new Beetle's going to be?
Yep.
So I think you can take some tips from Sam here, because he competed in this episode with his sawbot of his own, Maximum Ogredrive.
Maximum Ogredrive. Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
And demonetized.
If you guys don't mind, Brandon, Sam, if you don't mind me fanboying for a sec, I'm just gonna say it right now. I freaking love this robot. In fact, it's my favorite robot currently in the whole Bugglebots series so far, and probably my favorite UK Beetle.
Yay! You got
Thank you very much.
It's all robots.
That's very kind.
And this is easily one of the best ones I've ever seen.
So, Sam, what can you tell us about Maximum Ogredrive?
It was built in about a week because I wanted to see if I could. Basically, so I obviously watched BattleBots and sort of Saw Blaze, and I was like, I could have a go at that. And there isn't really anything in the UK that's got a good overhead weapon. Everyone's got really thin lids, but nothing that will really go through it because everyone's sort of optimized for spinners. So sort of thought, something that's a good control bot, not lots of pushing power, nice low wedge, and then it's really sort of good overhead weapon. But there's no source material online. There's no real good overhead beetle weight saws. So it was kind of like going in blind.
Definitely did good work with it. You got some slice marks right into Rev 2. You got some nice sparkage, and now the saw, is that a metal one, or is that the cutting disc that they usually have at workshops?
It's a HSS mini circular saw blade. So they're really cheap.
Held up well.
Yeah, I mean the one I was using in that heat was an old one. That I've been using for a couple of events, so it was quite blunt. But Ogredrive was only put into the series very late, so I just didn't change it. I changed it for the 5-way, but for that entire heat I was using quite a blunt saw, which is why it wasn't cutting as well as it usually does.
I gotta say, I do love the Saw Blaze name drop.
Yeah, I'm sure JMO was happy about that.
I also really, really like the servo linkage. Honestly, I have never seen anything like that done this effectively.
All right. It was just something that sort of it was the easiest way I could think of doing it. So it's just it's literally a bit of scrap 2mm mild steel just on the servo arm. It just goes up and down, but it seems to work quite well. It's nice and reliable. So.
And we did go through a couple of servos though, Sam, didn't you?
I did. I bought quite a cheap Hobby King servo at first. I was like, I won't need much power. It's only bringing the arm down, and the gears stripped immediately. So we've got there's a bit beefier servo in there now.
Yeah. Now, one last quick question. To control it, do you just have it sit in the idle position, and then you move it one direction to move it down, and the other direction to self-right?
Yeah, that's basically it.
All right.
There you go. You're going to be champion next weekend, Ryan.
Oh, and also, I also have to know what drive motors to use, because those things are powerful.
It's literally just the standard 25mm Beetle ones, but it's on 4-cell. So it's overvolted quite a bit.
All right. Well, I might as well cut off my fanboying here. We're going to be here all day. So
Don't worry.
It's the one thing about those Beetle motors. They can handle the 25mm Beetle motors. Everyone slates them. You see people going, oh no, you want 22 Servo City ones, or you want to go brushless. And it's the 25mm brushless Beetle motors are disgustingly powerful for their size.
Not only do you need a good weapon for a saw machine of this type, you need one that needs lots of pushing power. You'd be able to get around and catch up with all these little bots, because especially when you're facing such a bizarre contraption like wee woo, wee woo,
Wee woo, wee woo.
Bloody Clusterbots.
Wee
the same, by the way.
woo, wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Oh, okay, I'll stop.
Right, can I just get this out there right now?
Uh-oh.
From
Go
a
ahead.
commentator's perspective, those Clusterbots are hell.
Yes.
Right? You know the fight, the Ogredrive fight, which we'll get to in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
We had to do commentary on that at least twice, mainly because it was so bloody fast.
Sorry about that.
It's not your fault. It was the flipping midget houseflies going about.
What did you message me about the Ogredrive fight? That it was like 2 or 3 accountants fighting over a penny, something like that.
It's like two. Yeah.
That.
Yeah, it was like 2 accountants fighting over a free meal. It was just insane. You, as I said in the commentary, it's like watching Ogredrive chase them is like watching a Jack Russell chasing houseflies around the living room.
Or watching 2 white women on Black Friday.
There's a million analogies, but basically, it's like that was, and I have seen a lot of people have sat there and gone on like live chats and comments and sat and said, "Oh, it wasn't actually that good." Hand on heart, that is the closest fight I have seen in any robot class, and I mean any. You can wipe out.
That was a nail biter.
Throw out the window. The Series 7 Grand Final. You can throw out the window the Hypnodisc 101 Grand Final. You can throw out the window...
Series 10 Grand Final?
Yeah, you can throw that out the window. The whole 9 yards. Because that literally came down to that moment when Sam pinned the 2 of them at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally the sparks.
That was it.
I'm actually amazed. I think that's what gave it the unanimous decision. Was just, I think, better weapon usage against these things. Because Wee Woo, yes, they got the speed and power, but all they have is wedges.
Wedge.
Wee Woo is a technical exercise on showing you what you can do with a smaller size. And to be fair, there is a video out there of Wee Woo shoving a Beetleweight house robot about like it doesn't weigh anything.
Oh my god.
Each of those Wee Woos is insanely powerful. But
yeah, I saw that
by
and
the
I
time
thought they
you've
were
got
unbeatable.
weapon, drive, armor, everything in a battery in there, you've got next to no weight for a weapon for those size. If they could weaponize those and give them something that did damaging points, that would be a frickin' evil thing to fight.
I want to know what kind
with
of...
a couple of like little drums on the front.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be cool.
Or even just one with like a Hypershock style Drisk on the front. It wouldn't have to do much.
We actually a while ago there was a 3-way wedge cluster bot that competed at Motorama a while ago, and they're all powered by these really fast, like outrunner motors that you usually see in ant-weight spinners. I'm pretty sure that was what was powering those things. Just huge. God knows how many RPM.
Now, I'll probably get corrected on this, but it was the Servo City 22mm. No, it wasn't the Servo City ones, but it was 22mm planetary gears.
Yep.
Hooked up to. Crap.
I think they're like 24mm brushless motors or
Are
something.
they
They're not
24mm
particularly big.
brushless?
Yeah, those things
but they've
kick.
just got huge magnets on the bottom.
And Cosman has basically proven himself in the last year to be an absolute god of brushless drive.
He has that.
He's got because his featherweight's almost entirely 3D printed, isn't it?
Yes.
What's his featherweight?
He's got a featherweight called X30. Is it
Three.
X303? That was at the UK Championships and had technical problems. He went away, ironed them out. 2 weeks later, won in Europe, dominated.
Oh my god.
I've seen this thing live, and it's terrifying.
It is actually terrifying.
It hits things, and they either internally explode, or it sends them into orbit. And it's a fantastic little machine. And 90% of it is 3D printed. It's all CNC and 3D printed, and it's a brilliant piece of kit. And he started off with a simple push bot at the Beta Weight Euros in 2017, and he nearly went all the way because he's just come on leaps and bounds. He's got a Beta Weight drum spinner that we'll see later on in the series called X302, which has great fun throwing people into the next continent.
Oh boy. Well, we're definitely showing the advancements in technology with magnets on wheels, really powerful brushless drive, melty brain drive. I really like about the Bugglebot series is that all these machines are different, and they always have like some different weird kind of wacky, crazy technology going on into them. Wee Woo has the brushless drive and the power of shunt posting memes. Maximum Ogredrive, there's also another really cool design in this episode that we'll get to later. But speaking of 3D printed, let's move on to the other second round finisher. And Nate, I triple dog dare you to name me this robot.
I don't have the card in front of me.
It's Flick, Ralphie. Flick.
All right. Oh, right. Flick. Drum spinner.
I actually like the look of Flick, and
entered by Tom Lloyd of Bucky the Robot fame.
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, I'm a big fan of drum spinners. I am a drummer myself in more ways than one. Like the drum's small, but it had some power. It had some nice bite.
Yeah, it packed a good punch.
The whole robot is tiny. I went to go and talk to Tom when he showed up, and he said that he'd never ever seen a beetle weight before, so he went on what size he thought they would be. So Flick was only about 1 kilo, and it was tiny. It was about the size of one of the Wee Woo clusters.
Oh, wow.
There you go. That you can make a nice cluster bot out of 2 Flicks.
I mean, Rev did it for him, so.
Yeah.
The problem he had, and he didn't know this until it exploded, is he printed the nylon too hot.
Mm.
And so it had gone like the consistency of polystyrene inside. If he'd gotten that to print properly, the problem is you can't know that unless you take a chainsaw to it and slice it in half. If that had printed properly, that rev hit would never have taken the front off.
Oh, wow.
I think it wouldn't have done as much. He hit the tooth of the drum. So he hit the side of the tooth, so I think that's what did most of the damage. It transferred all the energy. But if he did Flick to the full weight, it would probably be strong enough.
The tooth at the moment is currently passing by Ursa Major, so if you keep your eye on the sky. Flick was really neat. I like the look of Flick. I like the design of Flick. I like the way that Flick then decided to dismantle itself for ease of transport home before the end of the series, which I thought was really nice of it.
We'll get to that.
Poor little thing. We're just roasting it over here.
It's a shame. 3D printing in beetle weights is actually very common. Like there are some notable names like Silent Spring, aka Sawblaze Guy's little beetle. Foiled again. The Valkyrie team that's 3D printed as well. I think it really also depends on the type of material used in the 3D printing. Because this was polyurethane.
No, this was nylon.
It was SLS nylon, yeah.
Yeah. I think Silent Spring is made out of like I know they use a Mark Forged machine. I think it's nylon or something of the sort. But
it's called fiber material. It's called onyx.
Onyx, yes. Yeah, that's really nice tough material.
The interesting thing about beetles is a beetle weight robot is of a small enough size that realistically the only thing stopping you doing something stupid is your bank balance. And what you have access to. It's like me and Sam have access to a jigsaw and a pillar drill and a table saw. That's about
I've got a bandsaw now, thank you very much.
Yeah, he upgraded his specs. He's got a bandsaw.
Look at you, Mr. Fancy.
And you've got some people that don't even have that. But then you've got the other end of the scale where Jameson Go has like he's got about 5 different Mark Forgers he can get a hand on. He's got millions of companies. Like he can go to that scale and do things like Silent Spring, where I reckon if you fired that out of a cannon, it'd be all right. And it's just but it's great because despite the space age technology of Silent Spring, and again in things like Flick, they could still come unstuck. I've seen videos of Silent Spring, even with its posh 3D printing, have problems. It's not it's not a magic bullet. You can't just say to someone, "Oh, just 3D print it; it'll be fine," because the technology's there. But you have to A, know what you're doing, B, able to afford it, and C, have to make sure it actually works.
As far as a 3D printed design goes, it looked good. It did damage. It put up gave us the best fights of the episode. There were quite a few good fights in this episode, and yeah. But I do hope to see more of Flick because I see the potential.
But the fine art with robot combat is, yeah, you can hate something. I mean, personally, I can't stand CO2 wedge flippers. I've had enough of them. We have 2,000 billion of them in the UK, and they all look the same. But I can totally respect the engineering that's gone into them, because yeah, they've now perfected the shape, but
yeah,
it doesn't make any difference.
I respect good. I definitely have a lot of respect for well-engineered drum bots. So it's just kind of like a personal design thing, because I feel like over here in the U.S. there's a lot of them. The same thing with like D2 kits. I have not been.
I'm sure I can dig deep and find some respect.
Well, yeah.
I definitely do think that Flick could really be a good competitor, though, as long as he gets his 3D printing filaments right next time. So
I'm sure he can.
Well, he's got the brains for it.
He's got the brains. He just needs the body. Nah. But yeah, I think that pretty much does it for Flick. We'll move on to at long last. I think this may be at long last we finally get to see a new Beetleweight Crusher. And this is one of the most, out of all the Beetle I've seen a couple Crushers. But here's the name of this thing, and get this. It's called Snippers McGee.
Snippers McGee. Screwbot.
There's some Crusher bots, like Crusher, that use they use hydraulic, maybe they use electric. Sometimes they use like a screw hanging off the back, because I know one of Al Kindle's bots that he used to have was called Turkatron, and it was powered by I think there was a motor that spun a screw thing, and it made the Crusher go down. This thing has kinda something to that effect, except it's like a spindly stick with a fez at the end. It is hilarious.
How can I put Snippers McGee?
Yeah.
Oh
my parents didn't get this robot.
When I first saw it in the opening thing, I'm like, what even is this? Like, he said it's a Shremek. It's a Shremek. It's a distraction.
It's a bit like when you used to watch Series 1 and 2 of the UK Wars, and you'd get like the uber competitive robots come in. Like you'd get like your Mace, and you get Roadblock and Mortis. They'd all come in, and then you'd get something that Grandad's made with the grandkids in the shed, and you just look at it and you want to go, "Well done, you! Well done, you! You did a thing." Now just go stand over there in the corner and watch while the big boys use their expensive toys. On the one hand, I applaud it, because it's like I can't think of any UK Beetle Crushers.
I only know one, and it was called Pressure Point, that competed like a decade ago, but it doesn't compete anymore. But yeah, it's different, I will say.
I can't think of any. I don't know. Sam's done Beetles a bit longer than me, but
I don't think anyone's done a Crusher before. It was a really nice idea, though.
I've seen some ant crushers.
Crushers is a very loose.
Ant crushers work. It's got the servo, but
Pinchers, I guess you call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice idea. It actually
was a very
terrified
nice
me
idea.
when I turned up, because ironically, Ogredrive, the thing that's designed to fight things with thin lids, itself has very thin lids. So I don't like fighting anything that could potentially go through it. And looking at Snippers McGee, I was sort of worried it might. So
it doesn't really have the wedge to get under anything and to get the bot into its pincher.
Yeah.
I think if it had more wedginess to it instead of the two
prongs they could have been able to get underneath Flick. But yeah, I applaud it though, because it kind of reminds me of some of those old like, say what you will about bots like Hammer or Tong or Scorpion. The weapons might not work, but I love how they put creativity into them.
Oh yeah, it was the whole how can I put this? It was very much evidence of I have these parts. What can I do with them?
Exactly.
Which is my favorite way of doing a robot. Is not this, right? I want to build Bite Force. I need a piece like this, and I need to get this done. It's I have this wheel and this bit of metal, and I have another wheel which is a completely different shape and size, but will work the same. Let's put them together and see what it can do. And that's brilliant. It's what the whole point of the Beetleweights is. Stupidity should be applauded in this class.
Yes. I mean, as I said, I'll keep bringing up Mike and his crazy robots like Pizza Party and Regift and Microwave and that printer that he had.
Yeah, it definitely it's great entertainment, and I love it.
I mean, I'm putting polycarbonate as my scoop for my robot next weekend.
Congratulations. So I think that does it for Snippers McGee. It was a thing. So we'll move on to the last robot, and oh boy, this name, Dr. Thwackenstein.
Dr. Thwackenstein. There was an attempt.
Yeah, Brandon, when you ended Flick on that, you know, he has the head and he has the body, I could have sworn you should have gone to Dr. Thwackenstein with that.
Oh,
I don't know why, like the head and the body, the brain and the body thing.
I was making a Nightmare on Elm Street 2 reference.
Oh, okay.
It did not work.
It translated to Dr. Thwackenstein. Whatever.
It did not work. Like the flick was a reference to A Christmas Story flick. I thought one of you would know that.
Nope.
It's been a while. It's been over a year since. I don't watch A Christmas Story outside of Christmas, okay?
They have a 24-hour marathon on TBS.
Well, I didn't get to watching it last year. I'm sorry.
I've never seen A Christmas Story.
Also, we don't get that here, so.
Yeah, what Sam said with more confusion.
Anyway, Dr. Thwackenstein, it's not alive anymore.
It's meant to be like years. It's supposed to be it's mini Gabriel essentially, but it doesn't really.
It again, it's really one of these ones that needs development.
Yeah,
it doesn't
in the
really.
Same way as,
it feels way too. It feels way too loose for a Thwackbot.
I think in the same way as I said about Nightingale, that don't bin it, go away and work on it. The same applies here. I really, really, really want Soph to just go away with it and completely redesign it. Maybe I reckon it's one of the few types of bots at this sort of weight class that would benefit from brushless.
It would benefit from
melty,
like custom, like a custom drive setup. Because at the moment she's using the same sort of 25mm as everyone uses, but with huge wheels.
Huge.
And they're quite wobbly as well, and they're only the grub screw holding them on, so the wheels just fall off all of the time. And they haven't really got enough power to lift that massive hammer over. So it needs a more powerful drive system and something that will actually hold the wheels on.
I think in fairness to Dr. Thwackenstein, if they get that working, it's gonna be a pain in the ass to fight.
Oh yeah,
they can give that to show that to Craig Collius, and maybe they could make some kind of beast out of this thing.
I have had great conversations with Craig Collius. It is well known what Gabriel and Eric have done to each other on various occasions.
Oh, we won't go there.
It's just a fact. It's like I just while we're on the subject of that, I want to put this out there because there's some people that have asked me about this. We were telling them to keep hitting us the entire time. We had spent the whole of Saturday, right? And this is where an old statement comes in. I had spent the whole of Saturday with Dave Weston, elbow deep in Eric. Get your mind out the gutter on that one. Right? Trying to get this thing working. we had legitimately done that. The whole Saturday, it just didn't work. Sunday, we got it in the arena. We got one fight out of it, and we sat there, and we just decided we were sick of the damn thing. So we were going in. We found that originally it was meant to be a melee. There was another robot meant to be going in. Can't remember what it was. It was a few years ago. So we stuck it in with versus 1v1 with Gabriel. Now, this is, and we've gone well off topic here. The floor at Arena Extreme Robots that year was wooden, and it had the crap kicked out of it. It was like the second last fight of the weekend. There was like the surface of the moon. We were still driving. We actually still had drive at the end of that fight. But people who sit there and make the comment that Thwackbots can't do damage, right, they reduced the height of Eric by 8 inches.
Wow.
Oh my god!
They took it, they flattened it by 8 inches. They split, not the welds, the actual sheet of metal on the base plate split.
Oh my god!
Okay, that's how much force was being put in every time Toby hit us with that sword. So, when I say that Dr. Thwackenstein, when it gets finished and gets actually improved, could be brutal, I'm being deadly serious.
So you think in the future
that
he'll
version
make
of Eric was only aluminium, like 5mm aluminium. But the fact that it split the aluminium, it didn't break the welds, it split the aluminium. That's not something to mess about with.
So I think by 2020, Dr. Thwackenstein will be making a sword that can just slice right through a robot, fillet it.
Its first fight with Wee Woo could only hit it on the wheels or on the axe. I said that in the commentary. The only chance Wee Woo had is what happened, and that's a wheel fell off. And when that came off, it really went downhill for them. But they could still move, kinda. But the thing is, physically, its body is way off the ground. Now, if it had drawn Rev, and Rev had had the spin-up problems, could have been a different heat. If they had drawn... The only bot that was there that really could do anything was Ogredrive. Because I don't know how high it sits off the ground, but I know for a fact that Ogredrive's saw sits at the right height to go straight into its body.
You think they'd do better with the sword, like Gabriel would? I noticed in that. I just happened to look up that fight. Gabriel's got the big
on how much weight
sword rather than whatever they had on the TV show. That was a lot better.
As they just pointed out, Nate just pointed out that it's weight is an issue. Okay, yeah, in the UK we get to 1.5 kilos, apart from you guys getting 1.36. We're slightly over the 3-pound limit, but I don't know. I think that was to do with balancing issues. But basically, even at 1.5 kilos, by the time you've got those 2 wheels and the drive and a battery, you've not got a lot of weight left.
That's why you got all the holes in the wheels to try and minimize the weight.
Yeah. It's the thing that people forget is that, yeah, you can do a scaled down version of a heavyweight. Some of them will scale down better than others, but physics doesn't scale.
I will say, I will give Dr. Thwackenstein credit for one thing. As far as I know, this is the only Beetleweight to actually have Hardox. The axe is made out of a piece of Hardox.
Ogredrive's wedge is Hardox.
Ogredrive's Hardox. There are quite a few Beetles in the UK that do run Hardox. Titanium's quite popular. I saw it with last week with OMG. Titanium is quite popular because titanium is reasonably light, and it does work quite well.
Fingertech is selling like really thin titanium that you can. It's like so thin you can actually bend it, but it still has decent strength. Fortunately, it looks like only the 3mm is available at Fingertech right now. But hey, if you want to get your 3mm titanium, go visit Fingertech now.
Shameless plug.
I gotta get my sponsors.
You don't have any sponsors.
But I know. But yeah, that pretty much covers all the machines. So I guess we'll move on to the matches. And the first match was Dr. Thwackenstein versus Wee Woo!
There's not really much to say about this one. Wee Woo just pushed Dr. Thwackenstein up against the wall, and that was it.
I did like how the axe actually managed to grab onto Wee Woo, and Wee Woo was just able to pull it all around the arena with it. It kind of reminded me of Spikosaurus Dragon Killer Hurts.
It's a funny little factoid that that was the first time they'd ever actually driven the robots together on a steel floor.
Oh, nice.
Because again, we wouldn't work without the magnets. It would be undrivable, flat out undrivable. And Greg Catalina has done a big write-up on Facebook about it, which is really interesting read. But one of the things he points out is when he tested it on his floor, it would just wheel spin and skate everywhere. And it wasn't until they put it on a steel sheet arena that it actually worked. And I believe at the event, they actually had a whiteboard fight on a whiteboard that was against the wall.
It wasn't a whiteboard. It was to see if first Tom put Drizzle up there. Drizzle's got magnets, and Drizzle just fell off. So they put one of the clusterbots up there, and that actually drove on the wall.
Awesome. Yeah, there's not much else to say. Wee Woo got the knockout. Now we get Maximum Ogredrive versus Rev 2. First round. Yeah, so Sam, can you tell us about this match going in?
Yeah, like, me and Felix have fought each other a few times in featherweights and beetleweights, and I have always won up until this point.
Yeah.
So going in, and I've seen Rev at a few events before, and it never really worked. I have on occasion beaten it with other robots, so I wasn't really confident, but I was kind of like, if I could get a good box rush, I was pretty sure I could keep it under control.
You pretty much took care of it. You got some good slice marks, and then you retired him.
I did. I said in the thing I was only trying to like sort of cut the wheels, just sort of hinder his mobility. I didn't realise that they were going to come off. But what actually happened is I was told to lay off a bit because I had him against the wall quite a lot.
Yeah.
So like you've got to sort of let him go. So I let him spin up, and then he sort of caught the wedge, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. So slammed him into the wall, and one wheel came off, and slammed him again. The other one came off. So it was a bit of luck, but yeah.
I was almost half expecting him to spin up his weapon and try to use that as translational movement, because that is possible to do. But yeah, the weapon wasn't working. The wheels were off. Yeah, pretty decisive victory, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this match was awesome. Flick versus Snippers McGee. Destruction at last.
A lot of punch in that little drum spinner, I gotta say.
Yeah. It definitely looked like a winter wonderland in that match. Just it's UHMW or is it HDPE that it
I
has
did like
Suv
and Steven's commentary over that little waggly thing over top.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know what the armor on the side of Snippers McGee was, because it sort of shattered, rather than like HDP kind of like moves out of the way and kind of gets sort of ripped up, and then after the fight it
seems to be like
together.
it's made out of the same plastic of Poundland action figures.
Yeah, I think it's that kind of thing. It might even have been like drain pipes or something. It was that kind of material, like PVC.
It was more. I reckon it was ABS, like
possibly
very thin ABS.
Yeah, it could have been
very
printed.
Brittle, very very shattery, and it's like as we know, ABS when it's thin is unless it's printed. Sheet ABS that you buy has not got very high tensile strength, so it likes to shatter, and or it could have even been PVC.
We'll talk to him. Hopefully, yeah. But oh my goodness, just checking my mic. My mic loves to play games sometimes.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, but wow. Okay, there we are. You can still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. This was a fun match overall. Some good destruction. Flick ended up getting the KO, and so we move on to the losers melee, and
it was pretty much all Rev 2. This is where Rev 2 got to show off its power.
Yeah, about time. Got some nice hits. Truly an A+ performance by Dr. Thwankenstein. They started moving, and then the wheel just fell off.
Yeah, they're actually using Ogredrive's spare speed controllers in this. Because they blew theirs up, so they had mine in there. Yeah, it moved for a bit.
It worked, and then it didn't. And then we had a nice little clash between Rev 2 and Snippers McGee, and then Snippers McGee. Also, I noticed it also had a lifter attachment. So
I think they should have kept the claw. I mean, they had 2 robots with soft tops, so why not?
Yeah.
Well, you've got to, with that fight, you've got to make the assessment, because it's like, yeah, he could have kept the claw, but then he has to charge in on the front of Rev 2, realistically.
Yeah.
And no matter which way you slice it, that's gonna hurt. That's like going with the theory of I can beat Mike Tyson if I let him punch me in the face enough times. You know, you're gonna get a serious brain hemorrhage long before he gets tired. Now, with that lifter, if he'd gotten round the side, okay, he may not have gotten a grip, but if he just tipped Rev onto its side, which he had the power to do, the screw thread drive gives an insane amount of power. It would have been able to just tip it. Okay, it would have been the slowest thing on earth, but it would have he'd have been able to tip it on its side. Now, we'd already seen that he'd already admitted Rev 2 can't run upside down, and it could easily get stuck on its side. It would have been a very, very embarrassing loss for Rev 2 if he'd just come up to the side of it and just gone bink and put it onto its side.
That's
Yeah,
true.
but Rev 2 managed to stay on its wheels, got some hits in, Snippers broke down, and Rev 2 wins the losers melee and gets to move on to the next rounds. And now we come to the match of the night. Was it this was it was the first match.
Yeah, match of the night. Easily.
Maximum Ogredrive.
Probably the match of the series.
So far,
Yeah.
well, it is the first match of the show to go the distance.
Mm-hmm.
At long last, the judges woke up. Sure, Kane, wake up from your nap now. Ooh. Well, the match is over. Oh, okay. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I'm actually I can kind of see how it's unanimous, since like they said before, the damage, I think, played a big key factor in the fact that Maximum Ogredrive managed to use the saw, and Wee Woo just have the wedges. And yeah, I was almost thinking back that we might end up with another Cherub PP3D scenario where PP3D got the damage, but Cherub was more aggressive. But
I don't know. I mean, that one, Cherub won, because if you really have to discount the event that caused them both to break down, and that event was basically everything PP3D did.
But there was no arena destruction. But yeah, but this was a lot of fun. Very fast. I don't know how you.
I really loved. My favorite part was when was it Wee or Woo who skipped over the pit. That is one of the single greatest pit escapes
cringe
ever.
when that happened.
Yeah, and eventually they did go into the pit right at the end. But
I was wondering about that, actually. Did that factor into the judge's decision, the driving in, or was that after?
Not as far as I know, no, because they'd already called cease.
I can definitely say it didn't, because we looked at it on the full recording. It actually happens after cease is called.
Wow, that was.
But he was. It was by about a second and a half. If he had done that with like 2 seconds earlier, he'd have been inside the cease calling, and it would have actually been a definite, driver error. This fight, as a whole, is my favorite fight of the whole series.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
so far,
I have to see the rest.
Favorite fight, and I'm not just saying that because my mate's in it.
Hi.
The thing is, it demonstrates perfectly the difference between aggression and effective aggression.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing that everyone just sits there and says, I was being aggressive. Yeah, you're being aggressive, but you're not doing anything with it. Aggression only matters to the judges if you're doing something with that aggression.
Yeah, because Maximum Ogredrive was constantly pursuing Wee and Woo, and was pinning them. It was getting under them. It wasn't always sawing into them, but when it did, it caused some pretty good sparks.
And Sam did the exact right thing. Pick one and focus on it. It's what cost a lot of people fighting clusterbots in the past. Was they sit there and they overwhelmed by the fact of, I've got to fight 3 robots. You don't. You've got to fight 3 in a row, but pick one, kill it, move on to the next one.
Yeah, the whole kind of thing with Wee Woo is that the whole point is to confuse people. So they want you to kind of get overwhelmed. So I barely looked at, I think it was Woo, which is the red one. I barely looked at it all the entire fight. I went straight for the blue one, which seemed to work. But they're trying to keep. I still don't know how for 3 minutes I managed to keep up with them, because they're so fast. Like Ogredrive is fast, but these things were just insane.
I know for a fact we had to take a break after calling that fight because we were just having our heads were spinning. But
You don't realise the judge's decision. We were waiting for about 15 minutes.
Wow.
Just for the judge, because it was that close, and they were sort of going over footage and talking for ages, and it was just the worst 15 minutes of my life.
I can imagine.
It's the thing with that fight is, if Wee Woo had been constantly shoving Ogredrive towards the pit the entire fight, regardless of if Ogredrive had been getting away from it, it would have swung in their favor, purely because they were using the aggression. This is what the difference is. If their main weapon is their ability to push, a bit like Tornado in Series 4. Now, they were trying to just push it anywhere. If they had actually figured out, they had played with a battle plan and tried to push it consistently towards the pit, and nearly got it in and forced Sam to make mistakes, it would have been an entirely different fight to call.
Yeah, I tried to stay away from the pit as much. You'll notice if you watch the fight, every time we get near the pit, if I've not got one of them against the wall, I drive immediately to the other side, just to get some space.
Yeah, again, smart driving. I would also give you the fight that I would also say that Maximum Ogredrive also won on control in that regard for smart driving, because every time they were near the pit, they always backed away from Wee Woo because they was afraid from getting bum rushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's Wee Woo didn't control the fight. They could have, but they didn't, and that was what cost them it. I think for them, they need to practice working as a team, because one was built in the Netherlands, one was built over here, and the competition weekend was the first time they're together. Secondly, they needed a battle strategy. They were going in like headless chickens. You could see it. I don't know if there really was one, but in the fights, it didn't look like it. It didn't look like there was a plan. It's like there's an ant-weight set built by one of Team Nuts called Wedge.
Yeah.
Wedge.
Yeah. Sam is famous for being treacherous in that, but that's another story.
I am indeed.
But basically, it's 3 little ant-weights. Now, I fought it a couple of times. It's a bitch. Because it's 3 ant-weights with the same pushing power as a full-size one. 3 little wedgelets. And they're amazing. Now, they work brilliantly as a team, because one works as a distraction, the other one baits you towards the pit, and then the third one just finishes the job by getting in behind you. Now, if Wee Woo had done that in that fight, Sam would have been out. Because if they had, because they've got the power to push Ogredrive, more than enough power, and if they had just gotten in behind it and just one of them constantly getting in behind, one of them at the front saying, "Yeah, okay, you're gonna hit me," but even if they had gone down the pit with it, the other one still on the playing field would have mean they would have won.
It was close, but it was still real fun to watch. Yeah, it was still fun. Definitely fight of the night, fight of the season so far, and
it was hell to commentate on.
Any match that puts Alasdair in pain must be the best match ever. Nah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but yeah, top contender for match of the season so far, and we'll have our mini awards ready, and we'll let you know if you win it, Sam.
It's very kind.
But yeah, so we'll move on to the other fight, which was Flick versus Rev 2, and
this was my pick for the John Reed good hit of the night.
and it went by so quickly. It was like all of a sudden, I just see the two robots clash. I see pieces flying everywhere, and I'm like, what the heck just happened?
And you know,
Well,
Tom
what
Lloyd, God bless
happened.
him, he made like those little side plates to put on Flick to prevent it from getting shattered by that undercutter.
Yeah.
It turns out that those were his downfall. So, congratulations, you played yourself.
Like, what were they?
Yeah.
What was it made out of? Were they made out of nylon too? Or,
Yeah, same stuff.
Yeah.
We pretty much covered the whole nylon thing.
Yeah. Nylon
I think-
ropes.
I think this was the start of the rebirth. This was the real start of the rebirth of Rev, because this is where the Rev story starts to flow back. It's like the plucky underdog coming out of nowhere. It's like, because it's like, yeah, the three-way really went Rev's way because he was fighting Thwackenstein, which was just not in a great state. It was having problems, and they tried. Bless them, they tried. And Snippers McGee, which was made of tinfoil, good intentions, and whatever he found else in the kitchen. Again, great robot, but not really a serious contender. Flick, after that three-way, it was a serious fight, because if that had to go the distance, Flick could have again done quite a lot of damage to him. And Felix very beautifully swapped over to that bar weapon to give him less to grab onto, and just detonated him.
And now this was the first fight where they were using the bar spinner now, right? Or was that the losers? Yeah. So, yeah. So basically, it evolved into Super Ev 2, or whatever Pokemon reference you want to make out of that. But yeah, this was it was short, but it was definitely fun. And Rev 2 moves on to the Heat Final and faces the Maximum Ogredrive to decide who will move on to the Grand Final and who moves on to the 5-way. And, well, turnabout's always fair play sometimes.
This was the fight that made me cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
What happened, Sam?
Okay, I've got to go on record here because I haven't said anything about this. Ogredrive has anti-horizontal armor. Okay, it's basically a big chunk of HDPE at the front that's all bent round. It's designed to take the first hit from a horizontal and then kind of push against them. And I had from about 6 o'clock in the evening the night before till about 10 o'clock the next day to change it over. And I didn't because I'd already beaten Rev before. And I didn't. So that initial hit, I think I missed with the initial box rush. It got up to speed, and then every time I went near him, he was just catching the wedge and just throwing me away. And then he caught a wheel at some point, and that sort of just worked itself loose.
Cut karma. It happens.
Yeah.
You both got wins over each other, and you I think both you guys showed that you're contenders. And he's through to the Grand Final, but you're through to the 5-way. We'll see how the 5-way goes, and we'll see how well you do if you make it through. If you've got the 4 other machines, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of the Ogredrive in action.
Yeah. I mean, the 5-way is
not over until it's over.
great.
It's not ogre until it's over. Yeah.
We'll go with that.
The 5-way is awesome.
Yeah, the 5-way is epic.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No spoilers, but it is epic.
The 5-way is just well worth it.
Hey, by the way, quick question: what made you decide to go with the ogre theme?
This was a thing that happened a couple of years ago. I've had
The name's my fault.
I had the name Get Shrek'd for ages. I never did anything with it, and then I found out you could buy green plastics. I was like, well, cool, we'll do that, and that was the featherweight. And then someone suggested I make a proper team, and Suv came up with the team Ogre Kill, and it sort of went from there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you've got Suv to blame for that.
Yeah.
ML...
See, it's like in the UK, there's what's affectionately known as the Big Vert crew, which is me, Sam, and another guy called Jarvis, and we've all got, ironically enough, featherweight verts. There's shrapnel, there's Get Shrek'd, and there's blunt force trauma. Now, there is a photo of us with them all lined up at a live event, and they've penned us off because we're the only ones with actually dangerous weapons, which is really quite funny. But we all talk to each other because we work as a team, but we do our own thing. And when we'll both go on record of saying, when Sam posted up the idea of doing a Soulbot, all they got for about 10 minutes was messages of just saying, "Do it, you fool."
Do it. That's exactly what we're always trying to tell Ryan. He says he's going to be working on his new Sawbot, and he's like, "Do it."
Yeah.
He never does.
Well, he did it now. He got started. He's got a picture of it. It's got the polycarbonate dust pan. He's got the little box section there. And is it going to be? Are you going to go with the saw weapon or a rake, or what's going on with your Ryan?
It's gonna be the saw weapon. I'm gonna find a way to make it work. Even if I have to use like ant weight motors and a servo, I'll make it work.
Hey, you got Sam Price right here. He built his own mini saw blaze. He's your teacher now.
When did that happen?
I didn't sign up for this.
All right, so can we give our final thoughts and ratings?
Yeah, let's give our final thoughts.
I have to eat dinner.
I ate dinner. I came home, ate chicken and rice, and then started recording.
Mm-hmm.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, some good fights, lots of funny moments. I'll give it an 8.
I think I'll give it an 8 too. Showed this to my parents, and my dad he wasn't a fan of it because Dad's kind of a killjoy, but my mom loved it.
Nice. Ian, how about you? Yes.
What the hell? Let's go 10 out of 10.
Yay!
Because that's like the best David versus Goliath story I've seen in a long time, of Ogredrive beating Wee Woo, and the twist at the end of Rev reversing fortune made it just the best story that we've seen in Robot Wars since Eruption's win.
Ryan?
I give it a 9 out of 10, minus 1 point because Maximum Overdrive lost.
Oh. Sam, how about you?
See, I want to give it a 10 because I'm biased, because I'm in it.
Of course,
but also I lost.
I've given you some perfectly good reasons.
Yeah, so 9.
And Alasdair?
See, this is where I'm really weird. I don't like giving arbitrary numbers because I've always felt if you need an arbitrary number to rate something, you need to work out your own opinion. But I would say if you want an episode which sums up the entire point of Bugglebots,
this is it.
This is it. This one's it covers everything, because you've got stupid, you've got creative, and you've got Rev coming out of nowhere, going from zero to hero. And it's like, it's the one I'm pretty much going to use. If anyone sort of says, "Oh, what's it about?" I'm just going to sit them down in front of episode 3, because it sums it up beautifully. Because episode 1 is Drizzle falling over. It just is. Episode 2 is Wedge faceplant Wedge. And it's really hard to get someone interested in that. And as much as I love Snappy and Craig, and I've fought Limpet a few times, and I really want to beat them, it's not as exciting as seeing the whole of episode 3, because it is a roller coaster of emotion throughout the whole thing. And it is there are people paying to go and see movies which aren't as exciting as this episode.
I don't know, I thought Creed 2 was all right. No, but essentially this episode essentially kind of was like Creed 2, where if you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to get into spoiler territory. The main character loses, and then he has to make a comeback. That's essentially what it is. That's essentially what this episode was. The babyface, the winner, ended up losing in his first match, but he came back and beat everybody to get his heat back.
All right,
there you go. Beat the big bad ogre.
Yeah.
I honestly, I love this episode mostly because it is really, I really love the differentiating styles of every single robot. You pretty much have all these different weapons. We have no two weapons are essentially the same. You have a multi-bot wedge, a thwacking axe, an overhead saw, a horizontal spinner, a crusher, and a drum. That's the kind of variety I love in fighting robots. And considering it come from the US, where outside of like whatever the heck Mike brings, there's not a whole lot of diversity in beta weights, this just puts a huge smile on my face.
Well, it's my opinion still stands of the beta weights in the US. It's gonna the win is gonna come down to, is it gonna be a Weta kit or is it gonna be a D2 kit?
That's
That's
fair
pretty
enough.
much how they go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's trending towards undercutters and D2s now, but
Yeah.
that's
It's
still
pretty-
true.
Some events are banning
Either
D2s.
D2s or whatever the heck Jameson Go brings.
Yeah.
I just think Jameson Go is too good right now.
Mm.
Someone
Jameson
should
Go,
tell
Val,
someone
please,
should
sir.
sit Jameson Go down and tell him he's not allowed to enter unless he brings a beetle walker.
Oh, he could.
Oh, good lord.
He'll build something like a Scuttleby squared fast.
Jameson, if you're listening to this, beetle walker, go on, do it. I dare you.
Do
You
it.
know,
Do
the
it.
sad thing is, I feel like he could do it and then somehow win the competition with it.
Of course.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah, so that covers episode 3. Episode 4 is next week, Monday, 7 p.m. Great Britain time. Also, 2 p.m. Eastern time for you guys in the U.S., Eastern U.S., such as me and Nate and Ryan and Ian.
Yep.
And we have our Heat robots list for next week. Chris Danby makes his. It is Chris Danby, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes. Craig's brother, the baby face of the Danby boys. He has built a Beetleweight version of Apex, which I will say this: it looks much more stabler than the heavyweight version.
Just wait.
Most
And-
things are.
Oh dear! And if I SC,
overhead bar.
if I
Little overhead bar.
and it's fighting SCO, which kind of it's like a full-bodied spinner, but it looks like it's got the flanges from.
It's a melty, right?
Really? Wow.
Stands for something completely different.
Oh.
We have a big wedge energy, which is a wedge with OWO on it. We have gold. No, I'm just kidding. The Berg, which is a giant yellow, very weta-looking drum spinner.
That's
We
my
have-
pick to win it, by the way.
Yes. We have Claws 2, which
The
is self-explanatory.
Keep your eye. All right, I'm saying this now. Keep your eye on this robot.
Mm.
Mm.
That's all I'm gonna say in the matter.
Okay.
And we have Liam, which looks like a combination of Behemoth and Odin, or whatever the featherweight is called. It kind of looks like it.
How do you
Got the-
pronounce that?
It's lame.
Lame. Oh, it is not lame. How
Like,
dare
guys,
you?
guys,
Deprecating.
don't hold that against him.
Don't call
I'm
it
just gonna
lame.
throw this out there. This pretty much looks like whatever. This looks like something that Zach of Magneto fame would build.
Huh.
Similar
Yeah,
idea. It's a spring-powered flipper.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. My vote's on Claws 2.
Mm.
All
My
right.
favorite's Lane.
Are we done
This
yet?
Yeah, we're done. Don't worry. You can go get your food before you
He's
die.
dying over there.
All right. It was great having all you guys on. Everybody, I'm really happy how the episode came out. I'm really happy with how the Bugglebots has been going so far, and I definitely look forward to watching the next episode on Monday. And, I'm still going to be doing podcasts. I do have an event in Norwalk, Connecticut. I'm going to try and get that golden dumpster and that $1,000 again. And hey, it's up for grabs. Money talks. No.
Yeah.
But I'm also eventually we're going to get back into reviewing Robot Wars Extreme Warriors. We're going to be reviewing Heat C with the Conquering Clown. So we're going to see. That should be fun. So until next time, guys. I'm the Hardcore Kid.
I'm Otaku Nate.
I'm Ryan Beaver.
Somebody go next.
Okay, I'm ResettisReplicas, and by the way, season 6 is coming out on March 15th. You know, that day.
And I'm that person from Birmingham.
And I was a token Scotsman.
Peace out and cease, laddie.
What are you doing in my swamp?